Hey guys, welcome back to the Lead Church Security YouTube channel, where we help you, church leaders, volunteers, pastors, we help you develop a community that is safe but also inviting. So we don't want people to come to churches and feel like they're coming to a prison. We don't want people to feel like there's something wrong. However, we also don't want churches or communities to be easy targets or easy prey for people with malicious intent. So we think there's a balance. You can have safety while also being inviting. So that's what we do here at this channel. We give all kinds of insights and tips on how you can accomplish that task. Now, if you're not new to this channel, you might notice that something is missing. Well, it's VBS week here at my church, and my wife leads our VBS. And since she does, and since she needed some lighting, well, she copped my lighting, and it is now in our ministry center, or our multi-purpose space that is being used for our VBS. So my expectation is, while we might miss the lighting a little bit, we're going to be all right. Now, a couple of days ago, I came across a question about radio communication on the Kids Matter Facebook group that I thought I would answer in a long form here. I did send some content to a few members in the group, and if you're in this video, watching this video because of that group, please make yourself known in the comments. I'd love to connect with you. But like I was saying, I sent some content to a few members of that group, but I felt like there could be some value in me giving a further explanation here. We'll get to that content in just a minute, but to start, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Preston Hawker. I'm a fourth generation pastor. We have ministers in my family reaching all the way to my great grandfather, who I was named after, Richard Patsy Hawker. On top of that strong legacy of ministry, I've been in full-time ministry myself for 20 years. However, I am also one of two owners of a private security company based out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. We specialize in close personal protection and private investigation. What I'm saying here is I know the church, but I also know security. When you subscribe to this channel or join our membership at leadsecurity.com, you're getting vetted information that's backed not only by certifications, but also by lived experiences. So go ahead, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And since we're on YouTube, go and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this valuable content that we're dropping right here every single week. Now let's get into this conversation. The question that was brought up in the Kids Matter Facebook group was, is there any way to discreetly and effectively notify all of your volunteers that there is an emergency that is happening in the building? The short answer is yes, there's a way. The long answer is get a good set of two-way radios, regularly referred to as walkie-talkies, and set up some predetermined numerical or color codes for any probable emergencies you can think of. Now, when I say set up those codes, I mean determine them, but also make them visible. Not everybody's going to remember or memorize all of these codes, so make it visible. One of the things that we do for our security team is we actually print out our codes and we make them small and we slide them in the back of their lanyards that they wear every time they're on duty. The reason I recommend codes, color codes or numerical codes, especially when talking about kids ministry, is it might not be ideal or even safe for your teachers to have an earpiece in all the time. And even if everyone is supposed to have an earpiece in all of the time, the truth is they're not always going to have one in. And the moment someone doesn't have an earpiece in is the exact moment someone will say something over the radio that they didn't want everyone to hear. Loud noises! And that person with the earpiece not attached to the radio is going to be standing in the main lobby as service times are switching, and there's going to be at least 50 people standing around. In our Lead Church Security membership, we give all kinds of tips and tricks for building your church security communication protocol, for how to train your teams for using two-way radios and just using communication in general. But for the sake of time and for the sake of answering this question at hand, today I want to give you some basic codes that you can use or you can implement into your communication protocol. Now, the first set of codes are going to be non-emergency codes. A non-emergency code means there's no imminent danger. Nobody's about to get hurt. Nobody's bleeding. Nobody's choking. There's no threat of violence or anything like that. So let's go ahead and go through our non-emergency list. In our non-emergency list, we have first code green, which indicates an all clear or all safe. This is going to be used to indicate to your entire team that whatever incident was previously recorded has now been managed. Now, we do recommend when you're announcing a code green, you want to make sure you repeat your code green and indicate where the code green was for. We might say something like, we've got a code green at our exterior alpha door. I repeat, we've got a code green for our exterior alpha door. The reason why we want to repeat it is one, for clarity, but also the reason we want to notate where the code green is because you might have multiple incidences running all at the same time. So you might have an issue at your alpha door while also having an issue in your kids ministry department. So you want to make sure you're identifying where everything is safe or where everything is clear. That was good. Moving on, we've got code yellow, which is used to tell your team to be aware of a potential hazard. This could be a spill in the lobby that you don't want people to slip in. Maybe a storm came through and you've got some flooding in your parking lot right outside an exit. It could be a list of things. But again, this is something that you want your team to be aware of, but isn't an emergency services alert. Now, the next one is kind of funny and it's probably going to get a laugh or at least a couple of weird looks. But there really is some merit in this. The next one is code brown, which is used when some assistance is needed in the restroom. I know, you can go ahead and laugh. An example of this would be an overflowing toilet. And I can hear someone saying right now, maybe even out loud, is that really necessary? And the answer is yes, it is absolutely necessary.
It was super necessary.
Let me set the stage for you a little bit. The pastor is about to close in prayer. He has everyone who can stand to their feet. They bow their heads. They close their eyes. You know the script. At that exact moment, a team member is performing a rove or a patrol and is walking through the sanctuary when someone presumably from the kids department comes on radio with, "We're going to need some help. Billy clogged the toilet again. You better bring your waiters." That moment is lost, at least for anybody that's in earshot of that radio. Now, should the team member have had an earpiece in? Of course. But we have to remember most of us are going to be working with volunteer safety teams, not top tier security operation units. People are going to forget to put their earpiece in, or they're just going to take it out because it's bothering them, because it's gotten a little uncomfortable. The reason people take their earpieces out really is endless. So we have to build our protocols around the idea that someone might be listening. And while this one is kind of funny, it also has a lot of merit. You might find yourself using a code brown even this next Sunday. So now that we've gone over some of the most probable non-emergency codes, let's go over some emergency codes. Emergency codes are going to be used when there is imminent danger, when someone is either hurt or there's a high probability of someone getting hurt. Emergency codes could even be used when there's a threat of violence, either verbally or somebody's just using some body language that seems to be threatening. So let's go through these emergency codes. First, we have code red, which indicates immediate emergency situations. Someone is about to get hurt. Examples could be an active attack, an active shooter, or even a fire. For a code red, you need to think of possible evacuations, especially for kids. Now, our second code in our emergency codes is going to be a code blue, which is going to be typically used for a medical emergency. These types of emergencies require immediate medical response. Ideally, that means you've got somebody on site that has some medical background, like a nurse or a doctor or an EMT, or even somebody that has been through an extensive CPR and first aid course, and they've got some certification. But also, a code blue means we need to get emergency services here. Somebody is hurt. They need help. In the past 4 weeks, we've had 2 medical emergencies at my church. There was one lady who had a stroke in the back of our sanctuary. And then just last week, we had a man who fell and ended up having to get staples in his head. Lucky for them and for our team, our people had training that enabled them to manage those types of emergencies with a sense of professionalism and discretion. And so those people were able to really maintain their dignity while they're having to essentially fight for their own lives. Were we able to treat the stroke on site? Absolutely not. Did we have the ability to put staples in somebody's head? Absolutely not. But what we did have were policies in place. So when the emergencies exposed themselves, our team knew how to function. Moving on, we've got Code Black, which is used to alert a severe weather warning. Code Blacks are most specifically used to alert for natural disasters that appear with little or no advance notice, something like a tornado or an earthquake. See, I live in Virginia Beach and we get hurricanes from time to time, but we typically know they're coming because they come from the Caribbean and come into the Atlantic, beat up Florida for a while, then they beat up North Carolina, and we just kind of get whatever's left. If a tornado touches down near your campus, near your building, get your people into an interior room that's away from windows. I promise your pastor can save that sermon for another day. He'll be happy to preach another day and get his people to safety. Our next code is code white, which is used to notify of a missing person that is not involving a child. And you might be wondering, why would an adult go missing? Well, adults might go missing if they're struggling with mental stress or if they have a diagnosis that might affect their mental faculties, such as Alzheimer's or dementia. This is one of those emergency codes that I think a lot of organizations miss, but nevertheless, it's extremely valuable to be aware of. And if you have somebody within your congregation that you know um, has dementia or is struggling with Alzheimer's, it's really important to have this code available to your team. This last code isn't a color, but we definitely don't want to leave it out. It's not a color because it's used worldwide, and I didn't want to like fix something that isn't broken. This last code is code Adam. Code Adam is used to indicate when there's a missing child on your property. A missing child, especially in a church setting, is most likely a child that's just kind of snuck out of a classroom to find his mom or dad. It might be a child who thinks it's funny to hide under a table. Still, it's better to call a code Adam and then kind of apologize just because the kid was in the bathroom than to not call a code Adam because you're assuming the kid is just hiding, only to find out that the child has in fact been abducted. If you hung out to this part of the video, it means you probably found some value here. If you did, do me a favor and hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that we're putting out here every single week. If you're interested in listening to podcasts, head over to your favorite podcasting platform and subscribe to the Lead Church Security podcast. And if you have any questions about comms or codes or really anything else regarding church security, please put your comments in the section below. I'd love to connect with you. Thanks again for hanging in with this video. I'll catch you in the next one.